Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity. Tell me every day, love is gonna come my way. Searching for clues, says I hope that I want something that's gonna last. I wanna live and forget the past. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me good. Wonder where the wind will blow. If you got a clue, then let me know. Don't hold it back now. Give me a die. If you dream, you know you should. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know the change will do me every change is in its own way. I'm feeling better to be. I'm gonna run back and all the best all day. And I'm gonna even though I know the things will do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me good. Aloha! Good evening. This is Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Inspirations on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships through human bodies. Aloha and welcome to tonight's show, Aloha Live. Tonight we're talking with Sierra Bender, all the way out of Florida, and Goddess to the Core. Aloha, Sierra.
Aloha, Andrew.
Thank you for being here. And just to let you guys know, Goddess to the Core, in Goddess to the Core, women are constantly faced with choices and demands. They can achieve great success in life, yet they still have a deep, nurturing center that longs to be expressed and fulfilled. They want to be a leader for their families and communities and attain all that they desire, require, and deserve. How can women fully manifest their power while honoring their fluid and flexible feminine nature? After traveling down this road herself, Sierra Bender experienced a hard-won spiritual breakthrough and discovered that the answers to her questions couldn't be found in traditional healing systems or in our spiritually disconnected society. They were found quite simply within. In Goddess to the Core, Sierra offers a new way of living with true power and purpose by redefining fitness, beauty, and power for the 21st century woman. Here, her technique method of healing from inside out breaks the cycle of stress and disempowerment by developing all four bodies, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, to help women reclaim, restore, and rejoice in their core feminine essence. Cultivate inner knowing to understand one's true nature. Learn silence so the mind and heart can elevate and reflect. Work with the breath to deepen emotional intelligence. Gain a stronger, leaner, more stable muscular foundation. Using an innovative mix of yoga techniques and indigenous spiritual tools such as smudging, prayer, ritual, and meditation, Sierra offers women practical guidance and inspiration for taking back their vital energy while rediscovering happiness, health, and wellness inside and out. Sierra Bender is an international leader in women's empowerment, a dynamic and inspiring speaker, and a best-selling author. She's also a successful entrepreneur and the committed president and CEO of Sierra Bender Inc., a pioneering, empowering company. Her community activities, both socially and politically, have brought awareness to women's issues worldwide. For more on Goddess to the Core and Sierra L. Bender, you can go to www.sierrabender.com, and that's SEIRRABENDER.com. And yeah, we're going to talk to Sierra here in a few minutes and about Goddess to the Core and so forth. So in the meantime, I do want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters that help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year, beginning with Maha Dikini Lore at www.mahadikini.com. Maha Dikini Lore's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer and a certified mind sound teacher. Maha Dikini Lore is also a graduate of Margot Anand's year-long Sky Dance and Tantra Facilitator Training Program, and is a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then we have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what Ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions and feelings, and your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And for those of you that are interested, a few months ago, I took the liberty of writing the book to supplement this program. So if you go onto the website, 90-Day Ascension Journey, or spiritualmixproductions.com, you will be able to find information there and order the book on Amazon or Kindle if you want to check it out for yourself. Yeah, we also have StarWorks USA UFO Symposium 2016, Art, Music, and UFOs, the Evolution of Human Consciousness, at www.starworksusa.com. Join us for the 6th annual StarWorks USA UFO Symposium, Art, Music, and UFOs, the Evolution of Human Consciousness, at the Aquarius Casino Resort in Laughlin, Nevada, from the 11th to the 13th of November. It will be hosted by Paola Harris, and who is the producer of the StarWorks USA. She's also an investigative journalist and author, and also Ron James, others out of California as well. Other speakers include Karen Ong, Eric Lukes, Mike Barra, and filmmaker Jennifer Stein. So if you guys happen to see me there, give me a big aloha, and give me a big shout, give me a high five, and call it a day. Okay, continue. Yeah, we also now this next guy, he was going to do his soul dance last month, but something happened, so he's pushing it back to the 18th through the 16th through the 18th of this month, I believe. Soul dance is with Sunil Ahuja at www.integral-trans, and that's TRANSF-Ormation.com. Soul dance is attracting and creating fulfilling relationships in your life. In soul dance, you let go of those ideals of how things are supposed to be and experience yourself with your partner in your relationship as it is in the moment, in absolute love and truth. You discover that actually knowing yourself, your partner, and experiencing what is happening is far more fulfilling than trying to make everything make everything fit in an idealized package that is supposed to be make you happy. Experience Soul Dance in Scottsdale, Arizona, again this September 16th through the 18th of this year. Now, if I'm correct, incorrect, then let me know. Right away, I'll fix it. I believe that's what he told me. You know, if you contact him at 480-314-9281 and make arrangements there with him there. Anyhow, I want to thank you for being here, Sierra, all the way out of Florida. And I'm assuming there's no hurricanes going on there, right?
Nope, we're done with that. So,
for a little while, yeah. So go ahead, Sierra. If you can just kind of let us know who Sierra is, where you grew up at, where you went to school at, where were you born, you know, what it was like when you were growing up, and then just kind of give us a bio, and then kind of lead us into where you're at now and what led you to write this book.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah?
Let's see. I'll try to keep it as
Is that a mouthful?
I am a Jersey girl, and so I was born and raised in Jersey. I came out of the gate as a little girl that just knew who she was, her core, had her voice, and you know, I remember having a conversation with my mom when I was 7, being a typical Italian young girl, and oldest of 4, and first girl on the baseball team, basketball team, all that good stuff. And I remember having a conversation with my mom saying, I'm not having kids. I'm going to travel the world. I want to know what the world is about. I'm never going to change my name. Why doesn't he change his? And I'm not doing this. My mom looked at me like, what? Oh, honey, you'll get married, you'll have kids, you know, that whole thing. And so I was always a goddess warrior, as I said. I was very athletic. My dad was a semi-pro professional baseball player, tennis player, all that. And so he kind of took me underneath his wing, and you know, I had a really great mentor on that to pull forth, you know, my power, you know, from that perspective, which then led to playing sports. And I was a fast pitch softball player, and I had a scholarship to USC, and sports was like my meditation, my outlet, my life.
Your God?
And yeah, and it just led me to I became a personal trainer before personal trainers were even big. There was no such thing as a personal trainer because I always had my own trainer. And I saw that a lot of women were asking me all the time, like, how'd you get your body like that? Like, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I had no fear going into the gym. I actually trained with the giant football players. I was like 14. They took me underneath their wing, and then professional bodybuilders. So here I was, a little girl at 14 going in, and they were just like I was their mascot, and they taught me so much about my body, about nutrition, about what's been created a business. So at 18, I had a thriving personal training business before there was such a thing as certification.
Wow. And I mean, that kind of sounds like me when I was in high school. I was a wrestler, and I used to wrestle with the heavyweight, right? The heavyweights. They can never pin me, and I can never pin them, so it worked out pretty good, right? But what's funny is that when I left, the heavyweight that I used to wrestle with all of that ended up taking state championship afterwards later on. So that was pretty interesting.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was funny.
Oh yeah, it molds us, you know. It molds us and gives us. You know, I always say the sports always gave me as a young woman a place for my righteous anger. And my power, you know, how to harness it, how to use it physically. And so that just turned into a business, a very successful business that took me to the being trainers for the COs, American Express, Revlon, Olympic athletes. So I was doing a lot of the mental and emotional work also of why athletes, although you may have the talent, but it's more than just talent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mindset. And so I was doing all these things before there was such an industry for it. So I was very in tune, very intuitive, and then I followed all the rules of what a young woman's supposed to be, especially being a Jersey girl. It's kind of very driven, very driven, and so I had it all. I thought I had it all good. I found the perfect man to marry, and at 32, I hit a wall, and the wall was that I had gotten pregnant 3 months after I was married, and I literally, to be honest with you, I didn't like being pregnant. And I felt such shame because of those feelings. Yeah, I felt such shame because of those feelings.
Oh, really?
And I was doing what I was conditioned to do.
Wow.
Get married, have kids. Life's just going to be grand, and there was something internally inside telling me that this isn't feeling right. And although I had everything on the outside, the inside was saying something different. And at 32, on Christmas Eve, I had a very rare tubular pregnancy. My pregnancy was misdiagnosed. I was 4 months pregnant. My uterus ruptured, and I bled to death.
Wow.
And I was legally dead, on the table, and nobody was in the hospital. I was in Ridgewood, New Jersey, Valley Hospital, and the ambulance couldn't take me to my hospital because the nearest ambulance that came had to take you to the nearest hospital. So my doctor wasn't there, nobody was there. So this is the magic and mystery and the miracles of life, and I just, to this day, I just say, God, thank you. But when I arrived in the hospital, no one was there. It's Christmas Eve, right?
Wow.
And my doctor and but the first went to, I left because I'm like, I want to do this the feminine way. I want to give birth and have a midwife, but I still want a doctor, and I'm going to do it this way. And so the first doctor I went to, I wasn't really so happy with him, and I just said, no, you're out. You're not listening. Well, not right. The typical doctor. So this doctor ended up being at the hospital when I arrived.
Wow.
And
the same one that you rejected.
He was there. Yeah, he was there doing his rounds, and he was a Vietnam vet, out on the field doctor. This man saved my life. They said if he wasn't here, he would have never survived because he knew how to act so quickly in the operating room that, everyone, they all wanted to do a hysterectomy on me. He's like, no, she's too young. So literally took my uterus out of my body, put it back in.
Wow.
For years, I would feel that, the cellular memory of your body. I was like, wow. But the point of it is that this man who saved my life, who I rejected, and then ends up saving my life. And the beautiful part about this relationship was that he had a near-death experience himself.
Oh, wow.
He never, ever told anybody
really?
until we met after my experience, and I shared with him, thank you for saving my life. And so there's so many healings that occurred, with my own and with his, and we became really good friends after that from a man who I pushed away, but saved my life. And it was just profound, and I had my conversation with God and Christ, and which created everything step 2. And although modern medicine saved my life, it didn't heal me.
Now, what were those conversations like? What were those conversations with God and Christ or whatever?
Conversation was pretty amazing because, let me just backtrack one moment. I am a statistic of sexual assault and abuse from the age of the 5 to 12. And when I had my conversation with God, Now, mind you, the conversation I had with my mother at 7. So to me, it was like a puzzle. All the pieces started to come together. So my conversation with God was, God said, love is not just an emotion. It's the most powerful force, grounded by action and responsibility. Sierra, where are you not loving yourself? And asked me 4 basic questions. Fear versus my love. Mentally, what were the belief systems from media, culture, your family that keep you further away from the source of my love? Emotionally, why do you continue to punish yourself not feeling worthy of my love? And then physically, why do you consistently resist my love? And those questions were so easy to answer. So easy, they were right there. The first one was, as a little girl, you're very intuitive. Children are very intuitive. They're very connected. I stopped listening. I'd have conversations with God, at night, and just with animals and nature, and so that was always my God, And so I stopped listening. I stopped asking for help. I stopped praying. I stopped talking to my higher power, to God. And then mentally, I remember my first day of confession being an Italian Catholic girl. You go in to tell your sins. And it didn't make sense to me. Like, why do I need you as a middleman? I always had that, and I told the priest that, and I got into trouble. And so it created fear. Maybe I don't know how to speak to my God. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Why do I need this? It felt like there was more guilt and shame. As a child, it was like, to me, it was like paddle talent, and it just did not make sense to me what confession was in this thing. Although I love being in churches and I love the energy, I just didn't like what was coming out of their mouths, and then emotionally, why do you continually punish yourself for being a statistic, sexual abuse as a child, and, you're taught that you're not worthy, you're not seen, heard, or validated, so you do different things to numb out those emotions just to survive. So, between drugs, alcohol, relationships, anything you can do to distract yourself from those feelings. And so sports for me, thank God, was one of my major outlets. And physically, why do you consistently resist my love? Why do you keep attracting the same actors and actresses that tell you you're not worthy?
Right.
Why do you keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again? And it became so clear that after I answered those 4 questions, which were so easy to answer, what it did for me was like fine-tuning a radio station. God and also Christ came into this picture for me. Was like, Sierra, you're so out of tune. Mine with who you are. It was like fine-tuning a radio station, not 5 minutes. Like, it's there, but you just can't get clear enough. And what that did for me, those 4 questions, those 4 bodies, you can say, which relates to the 4 bodies of being a human and a spiritual being, it just became so clear. It's so clear. And there was such an inner knowing, as God said, you already know this. You just forgot. You just forgot how to love yourself. You just forgot who you are, what your true authentic self is. So let me remind you, however, it's your responsibility to hold it. So that's where the definition of love comes from. Love is not just an emotion, Sierra. It's the most powerful force grounded by action and responsibility. It's your responsibility to love you.
Absolutely.
And that was so clear. I felt it was the most horrific experience I ever had, but it brought me back to what I knew when I was 7. I'm not going to have children. I'm not getting married. I told my mom, maybe when I'm really old, when I'm around 50, I'll get married. And I did. I just got married. It's like, how do you do this? You can't make this shit up, I always say. You can't make this stuff up. And so that inner voice, that inner knowing, the intimate relationship you have with your spiritual higher self is there. And it awakened in me again, which basically saved my life. Although I passed over, I died, it was really a rebirth thing for me. it was, again, the most horrific experience, but the most, how do I say it? I had the most relief, because at times I thought I was crazy, literally. Like, this is just my mind saying one thing, my heart saying another thing, my body saying another thing, you know. And it just brought me relief, validation, so that I can take my energy and move it forward to the direction that I always say desire, require, and deserve. And that focus and that energy is like a laser beam that you don't have this kind of free time to be distracted.
Exactly.
And so it was pretty profound for me. And then,
so how long were you dead for? Do you know?
4 minutes.
Well, okay, so you were dead 4 minutes, and in that process, you had this whole conversation with God and Jesus and whatever. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Wow. So and then
Before.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Before, it was really interesting because before, no one could find out what was wrong with me because I wasn't bleeding. I was bleeding internally. So they couldn't find out what was wrong with me when I ended up in the hospital. So I was bleeding for 12 hours and internally bleeding. And then when I finally came to the hospital, you know, everyone's like, oh my God, this poor girl, what's wrong with her? We can't figure out what's wrong with her, right? So they're trying to do tests. Okay, and all I remember was, and you know, I was always into healing work. I always believed in this stuff. You know, I wasn't as much as I am right now, but it also put me in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing on the planet. And all I remember was the nurses, the doctors were like, you can feel their compassion for me, and their hands were all over my body, like trying to soothe the pain because I was in convulsions and couldn't soothe the pain. And all I remember was all their hands were on my body. And anytime somebody took their hands off of my body, it felt like razor blades.
Wow.
And I could feel their intention. I could feel them channeling, you know, the word channeling, you know. As I said, I was a believer, but now I was truly a believer in the power of touch. And all I remember was asking them, because I was going in and out, because I couldn't breathe and convulsions, and they finally had to tie me down to the table. And all I remember was just, please, whatever you do, just don't take your hands off of my body. And then as they were bringing me down the hallway, I was like looking at all the lights, and this is how strong my ego was, you know. I'm not going down. I'm not ready to die. I just got married. I found the man of my dreams. Like, this is not happening to me right now. And all I remember was going down the hallway, and I started to fade, and I was having a really hard time breathing, and they put me down on the operating table. And like I said, they had to tie down my hands and my feet. And they forgot to turn on the oxygen mask because everybody was moving so quickly. And it woke me up, like it totally woke me up. And all I remember was wrapping my head against the table and just feeling I'm gonna die. Like, and I just remember the oxygen mask came off slightly, and I took my last breath. And I remember watching myself, you know, like I was totally detached. Like, here's my body, they're working on it, but I'm watching over what was happening. No emotion. That was the most amazing thing. There's no emotion. There was no emotion. It was just like, yes, you're supposed to be going through this. Yes. It was almost as if, as they say in the native way, a shaman had to die. I had to die in order to be rebirthed. Because my ego was so strong with fear and doubt and it was an illusion of power. And as a survivor, that's what you do. You build this armor, you build this me mentality that it's safer to be more defensive than it is to be open.
Right.
And so that all shattered, and that's what happened after my near-death experience. And while I was in it, I had my conversation with God. Was like, you know, this is not who you are. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You know why you're here. You just forgot, and you know why you chose all these people in your family and around you. And it's time to let it go, because you had to go through this in order. I had to personally go through the abuse. I had to personally go through these different tests, different emotions, because if I didn't know what it was or what it felt like or how to get through it, there's no way I'm going to be able to teach it. So it's like I had to go through each one of these experiences myself to build me back to who my authentic self is and to do what I do. And so, to me, that was like, I would say, the most profound part of my life, but again, the most beautiful, because I also have joy. You know, I didn't have joy then. I was just surviving. Not a great life. You think you can do it, you know, you have all the external material things, which I had, but there's always a hole in my heart that this isn't it. There's got to be more, because I'd reach every one of those goals because that's how good I was. That's how good my ego was. That's how strong my ego was. And I wanted them for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons. And there's nothing wrong with having success, and there's nothing wrong with having nice things or desiring them, but I didn't want them for the right reasons. So this experience just totally turns me around to understanding the power of love, the intelligence of love, being a woman. You know, what does it mean to be a woman? Because coming from a statistic of abuse, and your feminine essence has been, your innocence has been taken, your heart has been shattered, you've been fragmented. And so that's where the 4 bodies and the 4 questions that God asked me, Christ asked me, brought me back to my true nature. That no one or nothing can disturb my peace of mind or take what's not there. This is something that's happened to me. It's not who I am at my core.
Got it.
And that profound truth is what kept me alive, you know, at this point, and keeps me striving. Because most people have near-death experiences either commit suicide or become addicts.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they don't want to be here. Because I didn't want to come back. I'm like, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. I want to stay. And it was like I fell from the sky. That's what it felt like. It's like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back in my body.
Wow.
And, yeah, it was Christ came to me through sitting on the edge of my bed and having a conversation with me. And the whole conversation was never through words. It was an inner knowing. True inner knowing. And I don't really talk about this that much. I find it interesting. I'm talking about the full story. I mean, I talk about it in my book, but not the full story. But I feel safe enough now that people are ready to hear, like, what is truly Christ consciousness? What is the intelligence of love? How do we work it in our everyday lives? How do we work it through our touch, through our words, through our eyes, through every ounce of our being? The intelligence of love is, you know, Christ consciousness is now really coming forth through the divine feminine. And so my work has always been about women coming into their goddess self, which actually means the word goddess, believe it or not, means diva, and we all know what happened to the word diva. It's considered something negative, but the word diva, and this is how the goddess came to me, the word diva means a woman who's able to channel love, through her eyes, through her touch, through her heart, through her dance, through her gardening, through her lovemaking. Every ounce of her being is an expression of God's love. She's here in the physical form, to teach this love, to be this love. And in that, everything else will shift.
And that's so true, because I've told people this, the same thing, when the difference between a saint and a person is the saint consciously is conscious with their every action, word, and deed. And it doesn't matter what they're doing, who they're with, what's going on. Every action, word, and deed is purposeful, is very aware in terms of what its intentions are, what it's manifesting, and whatever else in between. That's like that. I hear you. Wow.
Absolutely, and that's what the whole women's empowerment movement is. It's not being an imitation man and competing with men. It's saying, this is who I am as a woman. I am the goddess. I am the expression of God in the female form that is here to create change. I am the manifestation of that. And physical form is here to teach this love as an intelligence, which is the Christ consciousness. And it also comes through nature, because the most powerful goddess of all is Mother Nature. So when we go out and we meditate, it says Christ in his 40 days and fasting and all these things, if we are not physically present in our body, in every ounce of our being, then we cannot channel this love. We cannot be this love, because you can't just do it from your heart and your head. You have to do it through every ounce of your being so that you can ground it and be the vehicle of this love. So when we're only coming from our heart and our head, then we have the full equation. And for me, after my near-death experience, I had this calling to keep going to yoga, and I'm like, why do I have to keep going to yoga? So I didn't know what that meant. I know yoga just being, as an athlete, being physical and stretching, and I remember after my near-death experience, I didn't want to be here anymore. It was really hard for me to stay here. So I would a lot of times I was journaling, and that's how my book came about, because I was writing because I felt scared to express to people what I actually saw, what I felt, because people weren't really ready around me to hear what I had to say, and I didn't feel safe. So I started journaling, and through the journaling I was writing, and I wasn't a writer, and profound things were coming out because I had to let it out. It was like coming out of every pore of my being, and I just didn't know how to express it. And, I started to express it verbally, but people were looking at me like, whoa, she's weird, something's going on here, like she's lost it. And I actually was threatened to put me in a mental institution, which that got me really scared.
Yeah, no
so
kidding.
I just shut down.
Right.
And I just kept my mouth shut, and I just knew that this was not safe, this is not love. And that's what I recognized. Although I was brought up thinking certain things were love, what I realized is I experienced what true love was. I experienced through God and through Christ. Exactly. I experienced, and no one or nothing will ever take me out of that alignment or tell me it's not true. However, I can't blame the people around me or judge the people around me because I was once a part of them and that. But I will no longer accept it.
Now, what happens is, and I know exactly what you're talking about. People get jealous because they haven't experienced that, or can't experience it. And literally, that's what it is. They get jealous because they don't get to taste that, that ice cream of what's called love, and they want some, and they want some bad, and so they do. They act out and react and lash out because they don't get to taste it. So and that's not your fault. That's not my fault. But and if they apply themselves, they too can taste all that. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, Andrew. And I always looked at it also that one, by explaining something that an experience that they haven't, I am putting myself in a defensive position, which means I'm also demeaning myself. So this was my experience. That's it. You can take it or leave it. I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you because you can't. And the second thing is that, again, I can't blame you or I can't attack you, but I dismiss you because this is not what love is. And this is not who I am. And this is part of the story, what made me who I am, you know, my story. But that story is no longer me. That story is what made me who I am today. But it's kind of like going back into the archives. That's the old Sierra.
Got it.
That's the Sierra that had to go through that in order to be this Sierra. So I welcome it. You know, as they say, it's your shadow or whatever. I welcome it. I will never forget it. But it's not, my past will not dictate my present or my future. And that strength people are very scared of.
Yeah.
And it's really out of fear because they fear losing you because they don't know who you are anymore and they can't control you anymore. So if you're looking at it in that way, that's your power. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to sit here and explain myself. This is my experience and I've outgrown this.
Yeah.
And I love you for being my teacher and I love you for whatever, but it doesn't give you the right to harm me or hurt me.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you this. I've got a couple of questions before we move forward. First of all, was the baby okay, or what happened to the baby?
No, the baby ruptured.
Oh, the baby died. Okay. And did you go on to...
Well, it was, as the doctor said, it was like taking a shotgun and literally putting it right up to my pelvis.
Wow.
That's how much the pressure. 80% of my blood was in my stomach.
Wow. And then now,
more blood than.
And so, have you had kids since then, or what? How's that gone?
No, I can't have children.
Okay. Oh, okay. Now I understand. And so now the other question is
going back. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But that's going back to what I knew at 7. I'm not having children.
Yeah, but
For the world, not getting married. So that experience brought me to who I am right now and what I'm doing.
Good.
Never got married. I said maybe when I'm 50. I just got married. And I'm 52.
You said
I met my husband.
Oh, and that's what I was wondering. You said you just got married. I didn't know if you were talking about at the age of 32 or 30 or whatever. Or you said you just got married just recently. Yeah. Okay. Literally.
Yeah.
Now, and
literally.
now, my other question is, do you think you are walking? You know what that is?
No. A what?
A walk-in.
Oh, I think that's I've heard of that term, but explain it to me again.
Okay, so a walk-in is literally two souls that share one body. One soul, it starts out in the beginning with that body, and then eventually, usually there's some kind of traumatic event that takes place or something that's very stressful, and then the other one takes over. The first soul leaves it, and then the second soul takes over. And a lot of times, the second soul only relies upon the cellular molecular structure of the body and the brain for its memory. So it may not actually remember being born sometimes, or it may not remember its friends or family. They may be like strangers to them, and you know, they may remember the house they live in or whatever, or different things, but there's details that they may not remember. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And does that?
I don't.
You don't feel like,
remember a lot of myself.
You don't feel like you're walking at all.
I don't feel like I'm a walking, or I do feel like a walking.
No, I'm asking if you feel like you are walking.
The way you explained it, yes.
You think you are?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am a walking. Yeah, because that's what it felt like. It's like a shell. Like I'd always used to, as a little girl, I used to look in the mirror and myself. I'd say, "Who are you? Why are you here?"
Well,
and in the Eastern Indian way of practice, it's about looking at reading your own soul.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's an amazing exercise.
So you think you became a walk-in at an early age, not at the age of 32 when you had this whole pregnancy situation?
No, I think after 32, because who I was as a child, I didn't know. Like, I was asking myself, I felt like a stranger. Yeah, I felt like a stranger around my family members and everyone actually around me. But after the near-death experience, it was just more or less clarity of like this whole new soul has been awakened and came back, or like you said, took over from that point on.
So you're talking about two different situations now. One's a near-death experience, and then one is a walk-in. At which point do you think you actually became a walk-in? The new soul came in and took over?
Oh, after my near-death experience, yeah.
Okay, and that's when usually it happens. It's right around a traumatic experience. So I don't know if you've taken the time to understand your new self and in relationship to, or even understand that you are literally a new soul in that body versus the old one that used to be there, the older one. But maybe that's something that you might want to visit and assess for yourself to get maybe better understanding of who you are right now, even deeper, if that makes any sense.
Kinda, but studying with Native Americans and around the world, they consider it a shaman's death, something similar. That you have to die in order to bring your higher self forward. That you are here. If you've already experienced death, you don't fear death. So that's part of the shaman. You go into the deepest part of consciousness. It doesn't matter. You're here to be of service to the people and to the planet. So you've already died, so you got really nothing to fear.
Wow.
So that's how you help other people to transcend, you can kind of say, or help them pull forth their higher self. So when you're up against, for instance, women with rape, you're up against some pretty horrific things that happen in humanity that you can't even fathom that people do. I don't fear it. I look at it and I say, it is what it is. It's not welcomed here. I help women transform those incidences, those things that on a practical level that are stored in the cellular memory to a higher level of every cell, understanding that frequency of love and bringing it back into its natural state of what it was when it was first born. And you can kind of say of their soul. Right. So we're here as human beings to experience different emotions, and those emotions are part of being human, but part of our healing experience. And you have to choose that, this is emotional intelligence also. You have to choose what emotions do you choose to live in. Do you want to live in anger and be victimized by your story, or do you want to change that? You want to turn that pain into power and move to a higher level of consciousness that you actually deserve.
Exactly.
And that takes work. That takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of prayer. It takes a lot of love. It takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of energy. But so that's how I always looked at myself as always being of service. Even as a child, I knew that, and I love it. But it's not losing myself in being of service. I have my own desires. I have my own. So it's not being codependent in the being of service, like, oh my God, I'm out here to save the world, or this is the only thing I know and live for. It's the balance of how do I love myself and bring love to me in my own life with my own, with my husband and my loved ones. At the same time, how can I be of service to that love? Because when I am that love, I can share that love, I can teach that love. And then again, that goes back to, women's empowerment. What is it? How do you define it? That's it. And also Christ consciousness. Love again is not just emotion, it's the most powerful force grounded by action and responsibility. And so then that's how the whole book came about was that I always would pray. You know, I know what I experienced was real, you know, because you start to doubt yourself, and God just kept coming back and coming through and just saying, you need to get this out. And I remember I went to a publishing company, and
Sierra, can we stop there and then take a break real quick? I want to go ahead and play some music. Om Ganapataye by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers. And although I didn't bring him on this month for an interview, this album literally it's just one of the most awesome albums I've ever heard. And we're talking about in terms of Kirtan music and East Indian music and all that kind of stuff. It's really an awesome album. So anyhow, I asked him if I could play his music throughout the month, and he said it was fine. Anyhow, I want to play this music. Send out love, blessings, healing, dangers of light and love to you, Sierra, and your family and friends. To all those on the phone lines, in the chat rooms, and your family and friends. To, of course, my family and friends, and to myself, and to all of those that have experienced near-death experiences, that are still living and breathing in the physical body now, and to all their family and friends, and to all those that are walk-ins as well that are living and breathing in the physical body right now, and their family and friends. And also, I want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to and being the 911 date, September date today. I want to send out to not just to all the people involved in the and it gets somewhat redundant, and but it never gets old. Send out love, blessings, healing, angels of light and love to all those people, all the family that had involved in that whole incident of the 911 years ago when the Twin Towers were taken out. But not just to them, but that are still living and breathing body, but all their family and friends, but also to all those people experiencing loved ones that have died in the last several years since 911, at least, or throughout the years, that are still living and breathing in their physical body now. So, of course, to the President of the United States, all his family and friends, to all those running for office, and all their family and friends, and assistants, and also to all the kids and the animals and the plants and the minerals on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. Anybody else you want to add to that, Sierra?
I always do a prayer. I always say, may my eyes, ears, and heart be open to you, O Great Spirit. May I know my truth, see my truth, speak my truth, feel my truth, walk my truth. Animal, vegetable, mineral kingdoms, two-legged, four-legged, winged, fin, gilled, and slithering. All that I cross paths with today, heart to heart, soul light to light, source to source, for the best possible outcome. When I'm of service to Spirit, I'm of service to myself. Please give me the strength, perseverance, and courage. Hope.
There you go, Cupcake. Yeah, perfect. All right, so to everyone, of course, to everyone else in needing concern, we will be back. Om Ganapataye by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers, and we will be back.
Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye. Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye,
And we're back. This is Aloha Live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with Spiritual News Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships between human bodies. I do want to give a big aloha out to Aloha J. Thank you for stopping by. And again, tonight we're talking with Sierra Bender, all the way out of Florida. She wrote a book called Goddess to the Core. We talked about how she grew up. She had a very rough childhood, and she had a near-death experience at around the age of 32 when she was pregnant and had a tubular pregnancy, and actually died for about 4 minutes. Had a conversation with God and with Jesus, and then came back even though she didn't want to, and then restructured her life, and we did her whole life. In fact, after talking with her earlier, I think it's discovered even on our show tonight that she's a walk-in, and I don't know if she understood or realized that prior to today, but yeah, either way, that she's already done a lot of groundwork to understand who she is or where she's at right now, regardless of circumstance. So, in the meantime, we do have questions here. Area code 780. I'm not sure if it's the same person from earlier, but Aloha, area code 780. You're on the air.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Who are we talking to?
Me.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What's your name?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hi, Andrew.
Yes. I'm back. Can you hear me? Sierra, can you hear me? Sierra?
Dropped off the line.
Well, I don't know if she's still there.
I'm here.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay, so now who's on our phone line? Who are we talking to?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, who are we talking to? Who's on the phone line?
Here, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me good? Sierra, can you hear me? Sierra?
Yeah, this is just a guest caller, so I think he's off the line.
Yeah, the guest caller, what is your name? What is your name? Guest caller, what is your name? Sierra, can you hear me? Oh, no wonder. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yeah, is this Sierra?
Hear you.
Okay.
Yeah?
I forgot to put my phone on mute. So, here I'm trying to talk to you guys. And so anyhow, Sierra, you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you, yes. I heard you the whole time. I'm like, oh, girl, I'm here.
Okay. So again, we're back talking with Sierra Bender all the way out of Florida. And again, she's had a really a difficult upbringing. She had a near-death experience when she was about 32. Had a tubular pregnancy. She died literally for about 4 minutes and had a conversation with God and with Jesus. And then she came back, and her whole life has been restructured where she's at now. And in fact, I believe tonight, I'm not sure if Sierra understood that she was a walk-in, but I believe we're discovering that even tonight that she's a walk-in from way back then. And even so, no matter what, again, she's done all kinds of groundwork to really work with herself and on herself, so she understands who she is and what her purpose here and her mission is here on Earth. So anyhow, we have opened up, and welcome back, Sierra. Thank you for being there. You can hear me, is that correct, Sierra?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. And then we've opened up the phone lines, area code 780. Aloha, you're on the air. What's your name and where are you located at? And how did you hear about it?
Yes, it's Jay calling from Canada.
Okay. And how did you hear about it?
Oh, I found you on the Blog Talk radio page, and I saw what you're talking about. So
okay.
I think this is a really interesting guest to talk about, or talking here. Sorry for an interview. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, Jay, did you have a question for her?
Yeah, I just wondered, Sierra, I just wondered, you bring some indigenous spiritual tools into your with your yoga techniques. I just wonder what type of thing you do when you're doing it. Do you do before or after, or you just do a ceremony after? I just wonder what the mix that you do when you're doing your practice.
Sure, it's a bunch of things. One is drumming and singing, smudging, learning how to connect to the two-legged, four-legged wings, fins and gills, the medicine wheel, sweat lodges, vision quest. All the things that I did myself and was trained by indigenous people, not just here Native Americans, but also in Peru, and I travel with them every year, and I have been for 20 years now. So basically the indigenous culture came to being. I practiced yoga, Kapala's teacher, and studied Kundalini, and also certified in prana yoga. And the yoga was so profound for me to go back into finding that Christ consciousness. Like I prayed and I said, I know what I experienced is real. Please show me how I can hold this energy within my body without going out of my body. So yoga really helped me profoundly to deal with a lot of things, but I just felt something was missing, and it was really, how do I embody this? And that's when the indigenous, my prayer was, I know that there's more. And so the indigenous teachings really helped me ground it, work with it through my body, and how to use my body as prayer, instead of just being in my head or in my heart. How do I actually embody this in every ounce of my being and walk the path? So all those things, really get your body prepared. But just like little things every morning, smudging, singing, drumming, from the basics to however the depth that you want to go, all the way to the vision quest or that, depending on how deep you want to go and how far you want to go and what that means to you. It calls you. Everybody has everyone has a different way of speaking to spirit.
Does that answer your question, Jay?
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Can I ask her another question?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Andrew's talking about that you had a near-death experience. I just wondered, when you got you see anything that we actually follow, like what we see in maybe movies and things like the white light?
Oh, yeah.
And things like that.
TV, I always say, does an excellent job. TV does a beautiful job and experience. I would say like the light being so bright, and then how it goes through almost a tunnel, and then you come out and you start to see. That's how I saw Christ. It was like everything's so bright, and you're feeling it through every cell of your being. This calmness, and the more that you surrender to it, instead of feeling the first thing you feel is the fear, but then there's this surrendering. And the more you surrender to the light, the more information came. And how do I explain it in a way that every cell has this inner knowing, and if even in yoga, when you go into relaxation, your body knows that sensation. It feels, it craves that sensation. So even when you do Navasana at the end, if you really, really go deep, that's exactly what it feels like when you pass over. It's like, I know my body's here, laying down on the floor right now, but my spirit is so much bigger and larger. And I feel it. I feel that connection to everything. Now magnify that by about 1 million. If you've ever had that experience in yoga, and that calmness and that bliss and that connection that you feel when you're done, and again, being able to hold that in your body without having to go out of your body. That's the hardest part. It's so intense.
Oh, yeah. Did you feel like coming back to the third point?
No, I didn't want to come back even when I was here. I didn't want to. I suffered really bad until I actually said to myself the commitment that I'm here. You put me back here, God, for a reason, and I know what that reason is, and as painful as I feel I want to be with you, it's gonna be more painful if I don't accept it. And that's what was happening. I felt like I was attracting all these lower frequencies, these negative things towards me, because I was shining like this light bulb. And I always say, you think of it like a light, right, outside at night. And what does light attract? It attracts moths, attracts bugs. But that's how it felt. I was attracting all this energy that could see my light, feel my light, but I wasn't in my body or grounded enough to protect myself. And until I made the commitment to say, I'm going to be here on this plane, in this body, and work with what I know I'm here for, and God gave me these gifts, then I'm going to suffer. So which kind of suffer do I want to suffer? So then that was my righteous anger, and say, all right, I'm going to take this love and learn how to love me without giving myself away either, and not being codependent or victimized. Because love is not just soft and mushy and compassionate. It's very fierce, And so that's how I always say, also to protect myself. Energy is energy. It's how I perceive it and how it comes at me. But I still have the right as a human being to say this is no longer of service to me. And that's how I protect myself. It's not judging it. It's not part of my consciousness, nor do I choose to be in it.
And I want to thank you, Jay, for those questions and stopping by and dropping in. Have a God weekend right now.
Okay.
Aloha.
Thanks, Andrew. Aloha. Thanks, Sarah.
So now, Sierra, you said earlier when we started the music that you wrote down you just started writing and or just writing stuff down, and then that's how your book manifested. So kind of tell us about that in terms of all that process. And you said you had a publisher came to you to publish your book.
Yes, it was very interesting. I started to journal, and I wrote down all my thoughts and my emotions, and the pen was just moving. I was never a writer. I never journaled before. I never did anything. But I just needed an outlet after I said I was scared to share my experience with people because they were attacking me. And that's what I, protect myself, to love me. And from that, I shut down because someone read them, and then that's how someone wanted to harm me, put me in the mental institution. And So I stopped writing. And, but I had all these journals. And I actually burnt them all because I didn't want anybody reading my thoughts or what my experience was. And then I remember that really made me angry because as a child, I was taught to be silent, right? As a child, you know, you're very intuitive, you see things and you express things, especially you young girls, and you're told that it's not nice or tone it down or turn it off. And so, yeah. So my righteous anger came forward and I just literally, I'll never forget it. I rented a house at the Jersey Shore. And, but prior to that, excuse me, let me back up a moment. A friend of mine was an agent for Donna Summers and music business, and he said, "You are like the poster child for health. You need to go and visit person." I said, "Yeah, but that's not what I do," or, you know, "Thank you." And he's like, "Come on, Sierra, you got 15 minutes. They'll tell you, you know, you got to get this message out." And I said, okay. So I ended up going. And he said, "Go home and write." I said, "I can't write." He's like, "No, you need to go home and write about them." I said, "Okay." So I rented a house for the Jersey Shore. I said, I just got to be quiet, right? Because I don't know if I could do this. And I start to go to write, and I start crying, and I can't get it out. Because I don't want anybody to know my thoughts or know what I'm talking about, my truth, because I'm going to get hurt, right? And then, from the bottom of the base of my spine of my soul, it came forward and it just said, "Excuse my language, F this, I'm going to tell it all." And I started to write, and it became my therapy. And I couldn't stop writing. And then I put humor into it. Instead of being angry, I had some humor in it too. And I went back to the person that I was just talking about who said, "Write the book." I went back and he said to me, "This is too intense. Just go home and write about weight loss and stress release, and it'll be a bestseller." And I looked at him and I said, "That's exactly what I'm not going to do."
Exactly what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, so I said, "No, I'm not going to sell myself, and nor am I going to sell other women out, because this is exactly what women are going through. And here's my righteous anger. The Jersey girl comes out, you know, crying it, and I said, "No way, I'm out of here," and I left. And everyone's like, "What, are you crazy?" And I said, "No, I'm not selling my soul again. Sorry." You know what? And then I put it down and I said, "Spirit, God, you want this message to come through me. That's why it came through. And when you're ready, you let me know when this needs to come forward." When people are ready to hear it. When people are really ready to hear it. So I put it aside. And, you know, I'm already out doing my retreat, so I kind of did it backwards. I already created Boot Camp for Goddesses, my week retreat, which became a huge seller at Omega, Kapala. It was the first women's empowerment workshop retreat. It was the first fitness workshop in Kapala. So it, you know, everything I was doing was like breaking through the wall of like everything that, how do I say, breaking through. Just like it did with me, it's like cracking to create this opening for the pioneer movement of women's empowerment. So that was 20 years ago, right? So there was no definition of what women's empowerment was. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's fitness. It's well, where do we put you? It's yoga. It's this." I go, "No, it's everything. You can't just put it in one box." So that's how the book came about. All of a sudden, somebody's seeing me. They're watching me do all the things that I'm doing. And they called me, a publishing company, which was Llewellyn, calls me up and says, "Hey, we've been following you," because that was my prayer. "Spirit, when you want this message to come out, I'll put it down and you let me know." And that's how I have my conversations with God. How can I be of service to you? It wasn't about this needs to come out now, or my ego. It was basically my ego part saying, my healthy ego part saying, this needs to get out, you know, and I'm going to write this book. Damn it, you know. But the part of me I had to surrender with say, it's not on my time, it's not on my moment, it's in Creator's moment. So then they called me up, I said, yes, actually, I do have some writings. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll send over what I have. And in 24 hours, I had a book deal.
Wow, nice, nice. So in the meantime, prior to what are you doing? Are you doing? Oh, you said you're doing retreats. That's how you're making a living is through retreats and through coaching, or what? How are you making ends meet at this point?
So I was doing the retreats. I've been doing those for years. Boot Camp for Goddesses, Goddess to the Core, Goddess in the Bedroom, so they all became bestsellers. And then I started doing speaking engagements. You know, I did the Day of Empowerment at Harvard, at Simmons. Now I'm going to Northeastern for rape on college campus. So it's also about lowering the incidences of violence against women. So everything that I do is based upon that, lowering the incidences of violence against women. And self-inflicting, violence, depression, eating disorders, all the things that have women, you know, our statistics are through the roof with all of this. And a lot of it has to do with women learning what true women's empowerment is self-love. So through the measurements, then after the book, so let me explain this as clear as possible. So after the book came out, and doing all this work with retreats, because I'm more experiential. You have to embody this. This isn't about me just giving you the information.
Right.
It's about how do I embody this. And so after I was approached by American University in D.C., Dr. Norris, who's head of the Department of Psychology, she's like, Sierra, you got to measure this. This is like insane. These women are coming out to different people in 12 hours. And I said, yeah, I know. You know, it's like what I do and what I love and getting on the front line with them. And she's like, we need to measure this. I said, okay. So she measures it, clinically researched it. We've clinically researched it for 6 years now. And coming back with what is empowerment. So we defined the effectiveness of my method called the Sierra Bender Empowerment Method, which is the 4-body fit approach to whole self-health. The book was first, you can say the theory, now it became a proven method, right?
Nice.
Scientific. And now it's been proven, and part of it is the native teachings that has the yoga. It's a full circle. I come at it spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, right? But it comes at it scientifically, medically, indigenous teachings, wisdom. It comes at it from quantum physics. It comes at it from a yoga therapy. It comes at it from nutrition. It comes at it from the full circle. And in that, doing all of that, we measured 5 categories about what is empowerment. And so we measured it in 5 categories. And through my program, there was a 93 increase in power, an 87 increase in self-esteem, a 50% increase in control, a 70% increase in community activism, which is the tribal energy, and then the 77% increase in righteous anger, my favorite.
That's interesting. Yeah, and that's just rebelling, but that's also a natural process of being abused. When people are abused, especially when they're violated, that's a natural process. They get angry, they get guilty, they get shameful, they hurt, but it's all a process until they finally complete all the different elements or characteristics, and then finally they can heal, or they are healing, but they can fully heal once they complete the whole gamut of it all.
Sure, for men or women, the righteous anger is how we've been conditioned to do things, and it really harms us, not helps us. And so the release to women to say, you're not crazy. You know, you've been conditioned to do this through your religion, through society, through media. Remember the mental body question was, what took you further away from the source of this love? You were conditioned to do this through all the different surroundings in your life, through, again, media, through culture, through religion,
And even your community, right?
Your community, exactly, your culture. So all of these things have taken you further out of alignment to your true authentic self. So you've been conditioned to do this. So for instance, the women, like, they start to realize, oh my God, I followed all the rules. I went to school, I got married, I have kids, I have a career, I have all these things, but I'm not happy. They're not happy at their core. I'm not happy. Why are you not happy? Well, I followed all the rules, but why am I not happy? Why am I not happy?
So with that in mind, Sierra, with that in mind, hang on a second. In your last chapter, 6, putting the female spirit into action. What's that mean? What does that entail? What do you mean by that?
Putting the female spirit into action is, as I always say, the most powerful tool a woman has is her intuition. It's the most beautiful gift God gave us as a woman. And the intuition is your bridge to your higher self. And a woman, going back to Adam and Eve's story, and a woman going back to what is our true nature, is always searching for more. We'll never settle. When I say settle, I'm saying we're always searching for answers. There's got to be more. There's got to be something deeper. There's deeper. There's a connection that we have to spirit that we're always climbing, looking for the best in ourselves and humanity and others. And that's part of that intelligence of love again. So that's what it means to put your female spirit into action is first, I have to heal myself personally. I have to do the work personally. Before I can even step foot into the professional arena, first I have to build myself personally in my own family before I can go out and help and heal others, because the industry, the whole mental health industry and everything, as fabulous as it is, it's a very codependent field. And a lot of healers are suffering because they're forgiving of themselves. And that's why a lot of people are suffering who are healers. They get sick or they don't know how to our intention is always to help others and to love, right? But how do I do that without suffering or protecting my own health or well-being or my own success, right?
Exactly.
So the female spirit into action is that first a woman has to follow her intuition. A true goddess warrior follows her intuition and is brave enough to follow it. So the female aspect is listening. The masculine aspect of ourselves, the warrior, is now putting it into action.
Awesome.
So it's the balance between the two. Because a lot of women have great ideas, they have great intentions, not just women, but people in general, but more so I'm just talking about women right now. We all have great ideas, we all have great intentions, we all have great things. But how brave of you are you to follow it without knowing what's on the other side?
And even just taking a chance to take an action, and whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You know, at least you're not sitting still doing nothing, and where nothing will change until you do take some action, some kind of action or another, and that's the way it goes. That's absolutely the way it goes.
Are you a warrior or a warrior? You know,
exactly.
A warrior is like a rocket; you just keep going nowhere. You know, a warrior knows how to put it into action, and again, doesn't know what's on the other side, but knows that the voice that's within her, which is her intuition and creator speaking to her, is so strong that it doesn't matter, because she knows that on the other side is where she's going to find her power, relief, validation, medicine, as I say. Her medicine is her God-given gift that every single human being has within them, that God gave you these gifts that are here to be used to be of service. You know, service of yourself, service of spirit, and service to your community, to the world.
Now, we got about 1 minute left here. Is there anything real quick that you want to put out there that we haven't talked about yet? Any workshops coming up? Anything else coming up?
Well, I'm just giving birth now because I look at all my things as babies. I don't give birth to children, but I'm giving birth to a center. I'm here in St. Petersburg. Sierra Bender University is coming out. A whole new birthing experience is happening, so that'll be happening for 2017. The next thing I have is in St. Petersburg.
What's that? Go ahead.
Goddess to the Fore is September 30th through October 2nd here in
St. Petersburg?
and yeah.
Okay.
And I have another one in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which will be in February, on February 17th weekend. So that will be up on my website very soon. But
Now, are all these workshops for men and women, or just women?
just women for now. The men are coming. The men are coming.
I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I want to thank you very much, so much for stopping by and sharing all this valuable information with us here. To all of you for stopping by, thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Have a God Goddess weekend. Be the love that you are, always have been, always will be. Aloha.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
And that is a wrap. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
So what do you think?
That was great. I didn't know if I was talking too much or.
Oh no, you did perfect. That's how I like it, because that, you know, if then I can just intercede or intervene whenever I need to, and leave it at that, and just plug in, you know, on that way. But and it makes it a little bit harder for me to do that way. But it's also easier for me to keep the ball going and make it a smooth lecture or presentation.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for such a wonderful opportunity. And it's so late here; it's like 11:30.
Yeah.
Probably why my gals didn't even. Some of them didn't continue the call in, or what have you.
Well, the two women did call.
Man.
No, well, I was surprised because I didn't know if that was your husband or whatever, but there was two women that actually called in earlier, and they wanted to ask questions, and I told them where to call and where to go and what to do, and they never came back. So, and then this guy, actually, he's stopped by a number of times and listened to some of my shows, but he's never asked questions up until tonight. So that's kind of Aloha Day.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's 11:30 here, so that's probably why the girls went to sleep.
That's what I think. So I showed your book on the YouTube screen or the Ustream screen, so when people go and see it, they'll see the cover of the book as well. And so, and now you're doing something out here in February. Why don't you make full circle out of it and do something in Sedona and Phoenix, and maybe even California? Have you thought about that?
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if I could do all that because I'm opening my new business stuff here. So I'm trying to slow down, not travel as much, but I would love to. It's funny because I first started my journey on the Four Corners and ended up doing my first vision quest, which I didn't even know it was a vision quest. I just intuitively did it.
Mm-hmm.
In Bell Mountain.
Uh-huh.
Arizona, Sedona. And, because God told me to lay down on the ground for 4 days. No water. I was that, right? And I ended up taking off to the Four Corners because at Apollo, when I finished studying there, I said, I know there's more. I'm done here. And I took the map of the United States and I put a bandana on it, and I said to my friends, because you know where the states are on the map, I said, just move the map around. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And that's how much I trusted. I took my hand, and I just intuitively just said, God, put me where I'm supposed to go next, because this is not the end of my journey. And I ended up in India and prior to this. And I said, I'm not done. And my hand ended up on the Four Corners, and I got in my car, and the next day I just gave away everything. And that week I was taking off driving across the country.
Wow. Well, interesting.
So I did it for a month, but I ended up first there, when I arrived there in Arizona, what I did, I went over to Bell Mountain.
Oh, yeah, Bell Rock.
Bell Rock.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Bell Rock.
And you just laid there on Bell Rock for 4 days?
4 days, no food, no water, by myself, yeah.
Really? that's pretty great. It must have been during the summertime or something like that, or springtime or something.
Yep.
Wow.
It was, yeah, I mean, I had a blanket, and that's about it. And, yeah, it was very interesting. I just, that was at that point. I didn't care if I lived or died. I was looking for answers, Who cares? I'll do whatever.
Right, whatever it takes. Well, if you give me your information, maybe I can put out a post for you or something. There's probably some women in my network that would like to go to your program. And there's actually...
I love that. I'll give it to you. I'm finishing up the write-up right now, but it'll be with that woman I was just telling you about, Lois Frank. So she lives in Santa Fe. I used to live in Santa Fe. I lived there for 5 years and in Colorado for 5 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how I first started my journey. I ended up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So, I traveled to Arizona, Utah, and then I came around to Santa Fe, and I continued my journey, and then I ended up back in Santa Fe. See, the story just never ends. It's just like, holy God, like I lived 9 lives. But, yeah, she would be a great person to interview, but I will definitely send that information over because we'll be doing a sweat lodge, we'll be doing native foods and purifications for women and just women gathering, basically.
Got it. I think that would go over really. Are you actually?